healthcare worker in California. Thank you for your service. So here's the thing with your postural stuff, what I referred to as the lumbar sandwich, and this is far from just you. Don't feel like I'm picking on you or anything. Just a very good case study here. Okay, so this is like one of the official postures of the United States of America. This is very, very common in the developed world because we're very sedentary and we do these things. All right, so what's going on here, and don't worry, I'm exaggerating, you don't actually look like this, okay? I'm gonna go head to toe just because it's more convenient that way. So we started with a protraction of the head, we've got forward head carriage, and then you can't really keep that up sustainably because it's gonna mess up your balance. You're gonna be walking around like this. So, in order to compensate, you tilted your rib cage posteriorly, right? And you don't want to walk around like this because that's weird. So you rotate then your humeri medially in order to compensate. And you don't want to be walking around like doing the rockaway, lean back, lean back. So you're going to then anteriorly tilt your pelvis. So you see how this creates this situation of real compression back in the lumbar spine. So in addition, what you've done, because you can't keep your knees soft like this or you will fall forward, you have locked your knees into hyperextension, which then puts the hamstrings in eccentric contraction and the long hip flexor, rectus femoris, into concentric contraction, and you then have to really do a lot of work, a lot of gripping with the toes, which you can't see because of my fly tims, and that's going to then predispose you to tension all up this what Tom Myers would call the superficial back line. A lot of personal trainers will call it the posterior chain. So you're basically walking around constantly in the end phase, the maximal lockout contraction of a squat, okay? So that's why your back hurts. Okay, so this guy is to mobilize the femurs in medial rotation. All right, so here's your femurs. The anatomical landmarks that are important for this one are the ischial or ischial, depending on who you ask, tuberosities, the sits bones. So that's right here. That's this, hello, here's my butt. That's this pointy little guy right at the base of the gluteal fold. I swear that's the technical term. And the greater trochanter of the femur, which is this other bone right on the side of the hip here. The idea of this is to medially rotate this femur, okay, turning it in without lifting my sits bone on the right side off the floor. So I'm not doing this, okay, because that's defeating the purpose. I'm no longer doing medial rotation of this femur. I'm now just depositing my weight onto my left hip, which is not what we're about here. So instead, I'm going to turn this knee in, and you should feel all kinds of magical sensations going on through the hip socket here. May feel a little bit more on the inside of your leg. Doesn't really matter for this. I just want you to feel it somewhere in your hip. We're not looking for a deep yogic kind of stretch, just a slight activation, sensation in there, and then come on back. So, and you're not gonna hold it for that long. So I'll show you how it looks in real time. So you're just swinging side to side here. And I'm not sure if you can see my feet, but they should be kind of seesawing like so. Back up a little bit, see if I can get a better view of that. So that's here. And the watchword for all these active mobilization stretches is gentle. Gentle. Do not strain with any of these things. After all, you are doing these because you're in pain. Probably more pain is not the solution. Okay? You can also, I think, I'm going to experiment here, add a PNF, a proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation element to this, or PIR, post-isometric relaxation, or whatever acronym tickles your fancy. You can turn in here, and when you reach that comfortable end of the range of motion in medial rotation here, you're going to take a nice deep breath, and as you exhale, you're going to push into your right palm, resist this motion. So I'm doing this motion and I'm resisting it with my palm for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax and let it go. Just let it swing on through. Then come back and you should find that your range of motion has advanced incrementally. And then you just rinse and repeat. And relax. Swing over again and push back. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Okay, so this is going to be a stretch for the anterior longitudinal ligament of the spine. This is the long ligament that lives on the anterior aspect of the spine. We want to create thoracic extension because we are trying to treat an issue of thoracic hyperflexion, if we can say. This sort of caving in of the chest, this rounding of the back like so, that creates a compensatory curve structure that can contribute to sciatica and to other lumbar complaints. So a little bit of origami involved with this one. We're going to construct a very high-tech medical device here. All right, so we've got here a flat sheet, just an oversheet as you would use in your bed. And we've got here a bath towel. We've got the bath towel folded double like so. And we are going to put the flat sheet as folded like so. Sorry, my folding terms are not so technical. That's not my area of expertise. So we're going to fold over like this. And we're going to roll it up into a nice tight cylinder here. All right, so we like this for the consistency, for the firmness, and for the width, okay, because this is going to span your back. All right, so I've got my roll here. Going to make sure it stays nice and tight, much as I can. Going to line my back up where I want it. Going to take a little bit of trial and error here. I'm going to put it just underneath my shoulder blades, just below them. I'm going to let my head lie kind of flat there, and I'm just going to lie here. I'm going to let this relax as much as I can. Take some nice deep breaths. You want to get to a place where you feel some resistance to this position, but not to the point that it's painful or terribly uncomfortable. So you should feel your spine sort of letting go, letting it melt over this roll. Some people may find that this is a little too much strain rather on the cervicals, on the neck. Feel free to put a pillow under here, that's fine. The main thing is that you're stretching this anterior longitudinal ligament on the front of the spine. Hi. All right, so I'm going to show you a self-massage rolling technique. This is a lacrosse ball. I don't have any particular interest in lacrosse. It's just that these things seem to be the perfect size. So get one of these. Size and consistency. I know a lot of people like the tennis ball, but it doesn't quite have the firmness that you're going to want for this one. Okay, so the target of these guys are going to be the deep lateral rotators. So we're going to come off this hip. We're going to put the ball right in between, about halfway between the greater trochanter of the femur and the lateral border of the sacrum, which should be readily palpable. It's just the lateral edge of your tailbone right about here, okay? Where you're going to want to put the ball is about midway between the greater trochanter, this bone right here, and the lateral border of the sacrum. So about halfway there, doesn't need to be exact. You're going to do some searching here anyway. So as you roll onto that ball, you should find a sweet spot where the muscle tissue kind of resists you. You feel it should be a strong sensation, readily palpable sensation, but not pain, okay? From there, when you start to feel that, I just want you to breathe into that area. Think about sending the breath there, and as you exhale, just kind of relax. Think about letting the pressure of the ball into your hip. Think about melting your hip over the ball. Those are both useful visualizations I have found in this. Once you have waited for that to happen for a second, it may happen, may not, you're just going to roll off of it again. Going to find another spot, roll back onto the hip, and just find a place where you feel that same tension, that same resistance, and then wait for a moment, give it a chance to soften. Perhaps, let's see, how long am I waiting here? Explore. Yeah, pretty quickly I find it happens. And you're gonna wanna get just all up and down these sacral attachments here. That's where those deep lateral rotator muscles are at, piriformis and the flying gemelli brothers, obturator internus and quadratus femoris. All right, so I'm here in my Sunday morning PJs and my trusty sloth shirt to show you the rest of these exercises. All right, so we're gonna start with seated exercise for the deep lateral rotators, that is piriformis and the flying gemelli brothers. I'll pop a little diagram, the same one from before, up on the video. So here's how you do it. You're gonna sit down on a chair like so. You're gonna cross the offending side ankle over the non-offending side knee. If it's both sides, you're gonna do both sides, so don't worry about it. Number one mistake people make with this is they go like this. This is not stretching anything. Keep your back straight. Think of bringing your belly button to the floor and bend at the waist. You should feel all kinds of magical sensations going on right in the hip, right in the area of piriformis and co. All right, so you're going to come to this first barrier, take a nice deep breath, and relax, and you should naturally, or you may naturally, I should say, sink a little deeper into the stretch. Breathe again, and relax. Okay, you're going to come to 3 resistive barriers there, 3 ends of your range of motion. If you do not naturally sink a little more deeply into the stretch, you should not force it. Okay, never push against pain here. All right, so we're going to go down to the floor now. Can you see me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'll show you this position first so you can see. I don't know, this is a lovely angle, isn't it? All right, so I'm going to cross again my ankle over the opposite knee. My jiu-jitsu friends, this position should look familiar to you. You're going to reach through, you're going to grab your opposite knee, and you are going to do this motion. As you exhale, you are going to push like so. You're going to push with this leg, like you're trying to push your left leg back down to the floor, and you are going to resist that motion with your clasped hands, okay? So you're going to take a nice deep breath in, exhale and push for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. As you relax, you should feel the stretch come a little bit deeper, okay? Same as before, go to 3 resistive barriers. I'll show it from the side so you can see it from that angle. So just as if you were triangle choking someone, I'm gonna push 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax, like so. This guy right here, where you are rounding the low back and bringing the pelvis into posterior tilt, okay? This is good for the posture we're describing because, of course, this person is locked in hyperextension and anterior tilt of the pelvis, okay? So this is a standing version of this. And you're gonna rest your hands on the back of a chair, countertop works fine. So from here, You see how my pelvis is in extension now? I'm going to bring it into flexion, and I'm going to round the back as well. So I'm kind of in the position of a letter C here. This whole area becomes concave. I'm going to take a nice deep breath in. And as I breathe in, you should see that my back is expanding just a little bit. And as you breathe in, you should feel the whole back kind of stretching. Gentle stretch. And I'm feeling it all through the lumbar area, down in through the sacrum. You're not taking as forced inspirations, inhalations as I'm doing right now. I'm just breathing a little harder because I'm talking and doing this at the same time. Okay, so something that will enhance this is if you do what is commonly in the West known as a Kegel. While you are doing this, you're going to lift from the muscles of the pelvic floor. I can't show that because I don't think that's allowed on YouTube. But you're going to create a sense of lifting from the tip of the tailbone. Okay, it is engaging the same muscles that you are using while you are trying not to pee. Okay, so if you stop your pee stream, that is the set of muscles that you're using to create that motion. If you engage those while you are doing this posterior tilt of the pelvis, another variation, as I showed, is what in Chinese somatics is called turtle breathing, of the five animal frolics of Hua Jia, where you are going to do the same position, the posterior pelvic tilt. You are opening up the lumbar curve, okay? So we're going from this position of compression to this position of decompression. Gonna take a nice deep breath, and you wanna feel your hands sort of fill up with your back as you breathe in. You're gonna maintain that slight lift in the pelvic floor, that Kegel sort of engagement, and it's gonna create a kind of negative pressure inside you're gonna feel your whole pelvis and back and abdomen sort of expanding like a balloon, okay? So you're like so. And I know it may be hard to see on the video, but you should see my hands kind of moving with the breath as I do that, okay? This next exercise comes to us from Bagwajang, the 8 trigrams palm. We're really just using it as a way to lengthen and decompress the spine, so I guess I could just call it a spinal decompression exercise, but it sounds so much cooler to say 8 trigrams palm. We begin by making sure we have a decent amount of space to walk around in. Starting from a neutral standing position, first smooth out the lordosis or curve in the cervical spine. This is accomplished by tucking the chin and retracting the head. Some people find the image of the crown of the head being gently pulled upwards on a string to be helpful. Next, drop the sacrum down out of extension so the lumbar curve flattens out. You can check yourself by flattening your lower back against a wall. Just as in the previous exercise, try and feel for a sense of lifting the tip of the tailbone internally. This should not be a strenuous, uptight squeezing of the dime, but rather a subtle, gentle activation of the pelvic floor. These postural reorientations take a fair amount of practice, so try not to get too stuck on it if you don't feel like you have them perfectly right at first. I certainly don't. Just do the best you can and let your body figure it out over time. Bring your feet together and sink the palms down toward the floor. This will help you balance and keep you from hunching your shoulders. Transfer all of your weight from your left foot to your right so that your left foot becomes light. As slowly as you can manage, I'm actually going a bit too fast in this video because stage fright. Lift your left heel so that the ball of the foot remains in contact with the floor, and slide the left foot forward as though pushing a heavy stone or brick across the floor. When your left heel is just in front of your right big toe, begin to transfer your weight as slowly as you can from your right foot back to your left, this time lifting the right heel off the floor. Your right foot should now be light, with the ball of the foot just barely resting on the floor. Repeat the process back and forth across the floor. Be sure to check in with yourself regularly to make sure you still have that feeling of smoothing out the curves in the low back and neck, your palms are still sinking your shoulders down, and your breathing is still open and relaxed. I'm going to show the exercise now from a couple of different angles. You may notice as I go that I'm wobbling side to side a fair amount. No, I didn't have a drink before I recorded this video. This will likely happen to you as well, and this is actually a good thing. This is your proprioceptive reflex, your body's GPS, attempting to recalibrate your balance and posture within the new parameters we're trying to teach it.